Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Chakodash. Of honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, peace and salutation to the Akim and to the elect that are scattered throughout the four corners of this earth, pushing the truth and faith and in all sincerity. I'm the Brother Shema from the GMS Houston camp, and this is going to be an end transit lesson going into Colossians, the third chapter. We're going to do verses 1 through 10. Okay? So, without further ado, let's get straight into it. All right, this is Colossians 3:1. It says, if ye then be risen with Yahweh Shai, seek those things which are above, where Yahweh Shai sitteth on the right hand of the Most High. All right, so it says, if ye then be risen with Yahweh Shai. Because coming into this truth, we are supposed to be, born again. Okay? And before this truth, we were basically dead, all right, in our sins and trespasses, as it says in the book, of Ephesians, the 2nd chapter, okay? And also Yahushua, when he died, right, it's basically like we died with him, all right, we of the elect, okay? That's why, Paul always said, he's crucified with Yahushua. So he died for us, so we didn't have to die. He shed his blood, okay? But then what? He rose, glorious, okay? And we're supposed to, represent the same thing, through the Spirit, all right? So it said, ye then be risen with Yahweh Shai, seek those things which are above, where Yahweh Shai sitteth on the right hand of the Most High. So ultimately, we're supposed to be seeking the kingdom of heaven. All right, having our mind, focus, on that. The next verse is going to go into it, actually. It says, set your affection on things above, not on things on the earth. So set your affection, your mind, right? Basically think upon these things, right? The kingdom of heaven, right? Think about the, the blessings and, the promises, and, having our eyes single, on that. All right. And not things, on the planet Earth, like a lot of our people, are engaged in and wrapped in. Okay. Because it's much more things, right? Bigger in life, right, than a car or than a woman, or than jewelry, chains, or a big house, or whatever the case may be, right? It's things that the Most High going to give us that's way better than that, right? And these are carnal possessions, right, that can be taken, that can rust, like it says in Matthew, the 6th chapter. All right, so it will make no sense to put your mind, on these things, right? It's like it says in Matthew 6 once again, that where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. Okay, so if that's in your mind, if those are the things that you value, right, it's going to show in your actions. It's going to show that that's what you are about. Okay, so having this truth in your mind, having Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai in the forefront, is going to show. All right, so that's why this should be the priority. But it says, for ye are dead, and your life is hid with Yahweh Shai in the Most High. All right, so we are dead. All right, we are dead, to this world. Okay, and it says our life is hid with Yahweh Shai, because we don't indulge in the pleasures, of this life as the 2/3 of our people do. Okay, the pleasures and the wickedness. All right, because we do things and we have fun and we enjoy things. We're not saying that we don't do anything, but just go to work and go home. All right, but we don't, get into, what Jake be getting into. All right, anything that we do on this earth, man, we do it in wisdom, right, in discretion and in moderation. right, that's something that, you know, our people don't have. All right, but the Lord blessed us with the Spirit, you know, to be able to do that. You know, to have self-control and all of these good qualities. All right, to be able to dwell amongst these wicked people, right, but not be, you know, moved or influenced by them, right, to do the things that they do. All right, so it would seem as though we don't have a life here, you know, and that's how it's supposed to seem, you know, because, you know, they say living, we really don't have a life here. Once you really sit back and think about these things, all right, we don't have a life. Okay? You can't really enjoy the planet Earth, you know, how it's meant to be enjoyed. In the beginning, right, it was called Eden. Aidan, which is basically, you know, means a paradise. And if you look at the earth today, this is not a paradise. All right, our oppressors are in rulership. All right, the wicked are ruling, and the wicked vibration, all right, that same wicked vibration, right, from the Edomites, right, are going out throughout the whole planet. So everywhere we turn, there's wickedness. Okay, so we don't get wrapped up into this place, because we know that it's a judgment for the wickedness that, you know, this place produces. Okay, but it says, when Yahushua, who is our life, shall appear, then shall ye also appear with him in glory. So it says Yahushua, who is our life, because our life is hidden in him. So Yahushua is bringing our life. It's like Yahushua said, I'm come to give them life and give it more abundantly. All right, the Lord is going to give us everlasting life. All right, that's what we are waiting on. This is what we fight for. Okay, so that's our life right there. So we're not going to start living until Yahushua returns. Like really, truly living. Right, how the Most High intended us to be. That ain't gonna start till Yahushua get back. Right? So until then, we are dead to this world. Okay? Then it says that then shall ye also appear with him in glory. Because why? The elect is gonna be joint heirs with Yahushua and rule with him. Okay? That's when we're gonna have glory. When we read in 2nd Ezra, the 7th chapter, it speaks about that basically on this side, right, doesn't abide much glory, something like that. All right, so we ain't meant to be glorified to have the glory of a particular image, right, amongst Israel. That ain't meant for these times. All right, Jacob's trouble, right, still has to happen. Esau still gotta, you know, do his thing, man. You know, the MOTB, right? You know, World War III. Okay. Esau still has to come against us. All of these things still has to happen. So we ain't no glory. We in captivity, right? Subject unto him, right? A base man. Where is the glory in that? All right, we ain't even in our land. We got other people ruling in our land. All right, calling themselves us. Okay, where's the glory in that? All right, like I said, we are in captivity. All right, we're supposed to be sighing and crying. All right, it says, mortify therefore your members, which are upon the earth. Well, mortify basically means to put to death. All right, you know, or stop something. And it says your members which are upon earth. It's talking about your flesh. All right, the wicked deeds that the flesh, right, can produce. All right, you're supposed to stop that. All right, and that's not saying that we're gonna be perfect, right? But a lot of things, you know, before we came into this truth that we did, right, we're able to cut these things off. And it's gonna name some fornication. All right, which fornication is basically adultery. You can control that. We all can control that. All right? No matter what the flesh wants, no matter what the flesh thinks, all right? We can control these things. That's why we got the spirit, to combat the flesh. Right? Uncleanness, right? That could be, physically, or spiritually. There's a lot of things that can make you unclean according to the law. All right? And it's you can be unclean by thinking a different way or being attached to a certain philosophy, right? Like I said, it could be spiritually, or physically. All right, inordinate affection. This is like uncontrollable, lust, to where when you are basically, doing something, and it's getting the best of you, and it's just consumed. You consume it right on a whole nother level, right, to the point to where it's basically a god unto you. Okay, something that's not necessarily unlawful, but you're overindulging into something, and overindulging, right, into anything is bad. Okay, then you got, evil concupiscence. Right now, this is lusting after things that are forbidden according to the law. Right, you're lusting after wicked things. Right, maybe coveting, maybe adultery. All right, maybe stealing, maybe whatever the case may be. All right, lusting after the same sex. All right, now this is what the 2/3 are into. All right, they lust after wickedness and they brag on it. All right, because what does the scripture say? What folly is set in great dignity. So they brag upon these things, and when they do these things, they gain points, right, so to speak, with the world. All right, they get glorified for these things. All right, it says in covetousness, all right, which is idolatry, because idolatry is basically worshiping a different god. Right now, when you're coveting, you could be, coveting, something, of someone else's. All right, you could be lusting after, a particular thing, right? Like Jake, out here in Houston, they all into their cars, the swingers and all of this, right? That's a god unto them. All right, it's all that they about. Okay, coveting, also going to, want something that someone else's has, right? And you want that, like, no, you want theirs, because you work whatever that particular thing is, you worship that. All right, it says, for which thing's sake the wrath of the Most High cometh on the children of disobedience. So this is why the Most High is pouring out wrath on our people, because of these particular behaviors. All right, but just like when you read up, it says we have been risen with Yahushua. All right, so we're supposed to be changed according to the Spirit, and not following after these same destructive ways. All right, that the Most High hates. All right, but it says, verse 7, and the which ye also walked sometime when ye lived in them. So it said, hey, we were the same way. All right. We all came from this. Nobody can say, oh, they were perfect before this. That they didn't go off. That the Most High wasn't displeased with them. All right. Nobody can say that. We all came up out of this madness. We all were those Gentiles, right, in the mind. All right. But now we have been changed. But now we have been washed. Right. Washed with the word. All right. It said, but now you also put off all these: anger, wrath, malice, blasphemy, filthy communication out of your mouth. Now, filthy communication is not talking about cursing. All right. Oh, he said the B word. All right. That ain't talking about that. That's talking about, speaking on things that's contrary to this doctrine, or to this truth. Right. That's filthy communication. All right. Saying things that is not true according to this word. All right, which says anger, wrath. All right, you're gonna be the scripture say be angry and sin not. Okay? So it's okay to be angry, right? But it's a problem when you let that anger get the best of you, right? And then eventually that turns into wrath, because wrath is when you acting on that. Right? Just a wrathful guy, uncontrollable. All right? Malice, based on ill intent, ill intentions, towards people, towards brothers. All right? You're supposed to be in that spirit, right? Blasphemy, right? Basically speaking evil, of godly things. All right? Basically contrary to the scriptures as well. All right? Because when you go into this word blasphemy, blasphemia, slander, right? What is slander? Slander is something that is not true. All right? Like if a guy's going off on a particular breakdown, way the fuck off, right? Just how these other camps teaching, the MOTB is sleeping with white women. That's blasphemy. All right, that's not true. Or we don't have to worry about, we can take the MOTB, the most I don't care about no chip. That's blasphemy, right? That is blasphemy. Okay? But yeah. But it says, lie not one to another, seeing that ye have put off the old man with his deed. Right, so lying. Okay? And Jake, man, lies a lot. And we came up out of this stuff. When we come into the truth, man, we ain't supposed to be in that same particular spirit. Right now, I ain't say every brother was like that, but you got people that's like that, man. A lot of Jake in the world that's like that. All right, you have brothers amongst us. All they do, that used to be amongst us, I should say. All right, just lying for nothing, over little small things, right? But we're supposed to be able to tell the truth to one another. All right. The scriptures say, to treat one another as if we was, to treat, Yahushua. All right, so you a lot of Yahushua's face. All right, because it said we are the body, we are his body. All right, so lying to brothers, you ultimately lying to Yahushua. Okay, but it says you're supposed to put off the old man with his deeds, so it has to be a change. And this is something, a lot of people don't understand, a lot of Christians don't understand, that a change has to be made. The Lord is not going to accept you for who you are and as you are, right? Because who the hell are you, right? This is the Most High, and you got his son Yahushua, right? The Yahushua, the top spirit in the planet Earth, okay, the first thing that the Most High created, right? And the Most High, he's the Ancient of Days. He's been in existence since forever. Holy powers, right? They just got to accept your filthy ass for how you are. It don't work like that. And this verse 10 says they have put on the new man, which is renewed in knowledge after the image of him that created him. So you got to be renewed in knowledge, right? After Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, after these scriptures, right? Because we were really created by Yahushua, as the scriptures say, as the Most High, gave the order and the blueprint on how to make everything. Yahushua, the one that did it. So we actually been created in the image of Yahushua. Was that Ephesians the 4th chapter, trying to measure up to the stature of him? All right, that's what we are doing. Okay. But yeah, man, that's the lesson. Hope this was edifying, right? Like I said, it's Colossians, verse 1, all right, to 10. All right, with that, I'm going to say shalom.